You shouldn't have worn that dress. The words stopped Amara Jenkins mid-step, her hand frozen on the conference room door handle. She turned slowly to find her boss, CEO Kang Ye-jun, standing in the doorway of his private office, his expression unreadable, but his eyes were different, darker, intense in a way that made her breath catch and her stomach drop. "Excuse me?" she said, forcing her voice to stay professional, even as alarm bells started ringing in her head. "The dress." His gaze traveled down her body slowly, deliberately, assessing every curve, every line, before snapping back to her face with an intensity that felt almost physical. "You shouldn't have worn it today." Amara looked down at herself, genuinely confused and increasingly uncomfortable. The dress was professional, navy blue, tailored to fit but not tight, conservative neckline, hem falling just above her knees. She'd worn it dozens of times to the office over the past 2 years. It was one of her favorites, actually. Classic, elegant, appropriate in every way. Nothing about it screamed inappropriate or provocative. "I don't understand," she said carefully, her mind already calculating exit strategies and witness locations. "Is there a dress code violation I'm not aware of? Because I've worn this dress at least 20 times, and you've never—" "No violation." He stepped out of his office, closing the distance between them with measured steps. Each footfall seemed deliberate, predatory. The empty hallway suddenly felt very small, very isolated. "Just a warning. That dress, today of all days, is a problem. Mr. Kang, I really don't know what you're talking about. If there's an issue with my appearance, I can go home and change. But I need you to be specific about— cancel the morning meetings." His voice was quiet but absolute. The voice of a man used to being obeyed without question. All of them. Amara's professional alarm bells became sirens. "I can't do that." "You have. The investors from Singapore at 9, the board presentation at 10, the lunch meeting with the Kim Group representatives at 12:30. These meetings have been scheduled for weeks. Some of these people flew internationally. Cancel them. Reschedule. Make excuses. Tell them I'm ill. Tell them there's a family emergency. Tell them whatever you need to tell them." He was close now. Too close. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle that made her think of winter nights and dangerous decisions. "I don't care what excuse you use, but we need to talk. Privately. Now." Every professional instinct Amara had developed over her career screamed at her to refuse, to demand an explanation before complying, to maintain boundaries and protect herself from what was rapidly becoming a very strange situation. She'd worked as Kang Ye-jun's executive assistant for 2 years. 2 years of impeccable professionalism, of carefully maintained distance, of ignoring the way her stomach flipped when he smiled or how her breath caught when he stood too close during meetings. 2 years of being the perfect assistant. Professional, capable, absolutely certain about the lines that should never be crossed. But something in his eyes made all her careful control waver. This wasn't her normally composed boss giving routine orders. This was something else entirely. Something that felt like barely restrained chaos wrapped in expensive suits and corporate authority. Something that felt dangerous and promising and terrifying all tangled together. "The Singapore investors will be furious," she said, clinging to logic and procedure like drowning people cling to lifeboats. "They specifically flew in for this meeting. Mr. Chen told me this was their only window before they commit to the Tokyo deal instead. If we cancel, we might lose the entire partnership. Let them be furious. I'll handle Chen. I'll call him personally, smooth things over, offer—" whatever concessions necessary. His hand came up, not touching her, not quite, just hovering near her elbow in a way that made her skin prickle with awareness. Please, Amara, I need you to trust me. Cancel the meetings and come into my office. The use of her first name sent a shiver down her spine that she absolutely did not want to examine. He never used her first name. Not once in 2 years. It was always Ms. Jenkins in meetings, or just Jenkins when he was stressed and barking orders. The sudden intimacy of her name in his voice, spoken with that slight Korean accent that made the syllables sound like a caress, felt like crossing a line she hadn't known existed. 5 minutes, she heard herself say, her voice not quite steady. Give me 5 minutes to make the calls. Relief flooded his expression so completely that it actually made him look younger, more vulnerable. Thank you. He disappeared back into his office, leaving Amara standing in the empty hallway with her heart pounding and her mind spinning through increasingly alarming scenarios. What was happening? What had changed? Why today? What did her dress have to do with anything? She pulled out her phone with trembling fingers and started making calls, watching her carefully constructed schedule, weeks of coordination and planning, crumble with each conversation. The Singapore investors were not pleased. Actually, that was a massive understatement. Mr. Chen was livid, threatening to pull out of negotiations entirely, questioning Kang Enterprises' reliability and professionalism. She had to put him on hold twice to keep him from hearing her voice shake. The board members ranged from confused to annoyed, to suspiciously amused, as if they suspected some romantic drama was unfolding. One of them, Director Park, actually laughed and told her, young people these days, before hanging up. What did that even mean? The Kim Group representatives were professionally disappointed but understanding, probably, because they were used to CEO-level chaos and last-minute changes. Small mercies. By the time she finished the last call, 20 minutes had passed, and Amara felt like she'd aged a year. Her perfect record of never missing or rescheduling a meeting was destroyed. Her reputation for reliability was potentially damaged, and she still had no idea why. She stood outside Yejun's office door and took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. This was probably nothing. Probably just some business emergency he couldn't discuss in front of others. Probably something completely innocent and professional that would make sense once he explained. Except nothing about the way he'd looked at her had felt innocent. She knocked once, heard his "come in," and entered. The office was dim. He'd closed the blinds on all the windows, blocking out the bright morning Seoul sunlight. The normally bright, glass-walled executive office now felt enclosed, private, almost intimate. Kang Ye-jun stood by the window, his back to her, shoulders tense beneath his perfectly tailored suit jacket. "Meetings are canceled," Amara said, closing the door behind her, but deliberately not locking it. "You now have approximately 30 very angry people waiting for explanations, a damaged relationship with Singapore investors that's going to take significant effort to repair, and a completely destroyed schedule that will take me literally days to reorganize. This better be life or death important." "It is." He didn't turn around. "Lock the door." "Mr. Kang, lock it, please." The please sounded like it cost him something. She should refuse, should demand an explanation first, should maintain some semblance of professional boundaries and personal safety. Every workplace harassment training video she'd ever sat through was screaming warnings in her head. Instead, she turned and locked the door. The click seemed impossibly loud in the quiet office, final and irrevocable. "Okay," she said, voice steadier than she felt, even as her heart hammered against her ribs. door's locked. Now tell me what's going on. Why did I just professionally immolate myself over a dress? He finally turned to face her. In the dim light, his features were shadowed, making him look less like the polished CEO the world saw in business magazines, and more like something raw and dangerous and barely controlled. Because the moment you walked past my office in that dress this morning, I lost the ability to think about anything else. I tried. God, I tried to focus on the investor meeting prep, on the presentation slides, on literally anything except you. But I couldn't. I sat in my office for 30 minutes staring at my computer screen, seeing nothing, thinking about nothing except you in that dress and what it would feel like to. He stopped himself abruptly, jaw clenching. Amara's breath caught. What it would feel like to what? To finally stop pretending. To finally be honest. To finally say what I've been holding back for 2 years. Her heart stuttered. 2 years? 2 years. Since the day you walked into my office for your interview wearing that gray suit and the most honest eyes I've ever seen. 2 years of perfect professionalism while I slowly lost my mind. 2 years of wanting you so badly I could barely function and never being able to do anything about it. He took a step toward her. That dress broke something in me this morning. Broke my control. Broke my ability to keep pretending this is purely professional. Broke every wall I've spent 2 years building. The words hung in the air between them, impossible and devastating and world-altering. You can't say things like that, Amara whispered, her mind racing through implications and consequences. You're my boss. I'm your assistant. There are rules, boundaries, HR policies specifically designed to prevent exactly this situation. Power dynamics that make this completely inappropriate and potentially illegal. And I know, believe me, I know every single reason this is wrong. He took another step toward her. That's why I've been silent for 2 years. Why I've kept everything buried so deep, I sometimes convinced myself it wasn't real. Because I knew, once I said it out loud, once I acknowledged this thing between us, everything would change. Everything would become complicated and messy and potentially disastrous. There's nothing between us. We have a professional relationship, that's all. Don't. His voice was sharp, almost desperate. Don't lie. Not now. Not after I've finally been honest. He took another step and another, until he was standing close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. You feel it too. I see it in the way you look at me when you think I'm not paying attention. The way your breath catches when I stand too close during meetings. The way you've been just as careful as me to maintain distance, to never touch, to keep everything perfectly professional because, you know that if either of us crosses that line, everything falls apart. He was right. God damn him, he was right. But admitting it felt like jumping off a cliff with no idea what waited at the bottom. Even if I did feel something, she said carefully, her lawyer's daughter instincts kicking in to protect herself. Acting on it would be insane, potentially career-ending for both of us. You're the CEO. I'm your assistant. The power imbalance alone makes this impossible. And then there's the fact that office relationships never work, that I'd probably lose my job, that people would say I slept my way to my position, that I'm some kind of stereotype, that everything I've accomplished professionally would be tainted. That I know. All of it. He was so close now. So close she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. That's why I've stayed silent. Why I've tortured myself for 2 years watching you, wanting you, memorizing everything about you, and doing absolutely nothing about it because the risk was too great and the consequences too severe. Then why now? Her voice cracked slightly. Why today? Why are you telling me this after 2 years of perfect professionalism? Why blow up everything we've built over a dress? His laugh was bitter, painful. Because this morning, at 7:45 a.m., I got a call, a job offer, for you. Amara blinked, her racing thoughts suddenly derailing. What? Lee Corporation. They're looking for an executive assistant to their CFO. Apparently, they've been watching you at industry events, impressed by your work, talking to people who've worked with you. They called me this morning for a professional reference. Wanted to know if you were someone they should pursue. Mentioned they were prepared to offer a significant pay increase, 30% above what I'm paying you, better benefits, more responsibility, a clear path to management within 2 years. And you gave me a bad reference? Anger spiked through her confusion and fear. You sabotaged a career opportunity for me because of your feelings? No. God, no. He looked horrified. I gave you a glowing reference. Told them you were the best assistant I'd ever had, that they'd be insane not to hire you, that you were wasted in your current position and deserved far more responsibility and recognition. I was professional and honest, and I praised you extensively. Then I don't understand. And then I hung up the phone and sat in my office for 20 minutes staring at nothing, feeling like someone had ripped my chest open. His voice was raw. Because I realized I was losing you. That you'd be insane not to take their offer. It's objectively better in every way. That within weeks, maybe days, you'd be gone. Working somewhere else, for someone else. And I'd have to watch you walk out of my life without ever telling you the truth. So you decided to blow up my professional life by confessing feelings I don't know what to do with? What am I supposed to do with this, Yejun? His name slipped out, the first time she'd ever used it. And she saw him flinch like she'd struck him. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. He stepped back, giving her space, running his hands through his hair in a gesture of frustration that made him look younger, more vulnerable. But I couldn't let you leave without telling you the truth. Without giving you a choice. Without letting you know that someone sees you, really sees you, and wants you despite every logical reason not to. A choice? What choice? Her voice was rising despite her best efforts to stay calm. You've just told me you've been in love with me for 2 years while being my boss. That's not a choice. That's a minefield. If I say I feel the same way, I'm potentially putting my career at risk. If I say I don't, I've made my working relationship unbearably awkward. If I take the Lee Corporation job now, it looks like I'm running away. If I don't take it, it looks like I'm staying because of you, which taints my professional reputation. There's no good option here. You're right. There isn't. He moved back to his desk, putting the width of the office between them, creating distance. I've been selfish. I've put you in an impossible position because I couldn't handle the thought of you leaving without knowing how I feel. I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry. They stood in silence, the air thick with tension and unspoken words. Amara's mind was racing through scenarios, calculating outcomes, trying to find the path forward that didn't destroy everything she'd built. Tell me exactly what happened, she finally said. From the beginning. The whole truth. Yejun sank into his desk chair, looking suddenly exhausted. Lee Corporation called at 7:45, spoke with their head of HR. She was professional, thorough, asked about your performance, your reliability, your skills, your potential for growth. I answered honestly, you're exceptional at everything you do. She mentioned they'd been watching you at the Asian Business Summit last month, were impressed by how you handled the logistics crisis when the venue double-booked. Amara remembered that. The summit had been a disaster. Venue issues, schedule conflicts, angry attendees. She'd spent 16 hours straight problem-solving, coordinating, making it work. She said they see you as management material. Yejun continued. That they don't want just an assistant. They want someone they can fast-track into executive positions. She gave me numbers, salary, benefits, timeline for promotion. It's a genuinely incredible offer, Amara. Everything you deserve and more. And then? And then I gave my reference, hung up, and sat there realizing I was about to lose the best thing in my life. His eyes met hers. You make this job bearable. You make the stress and pressure and constant decisions manageable. Every morning, I look forward to coming to work because I know you'll be here. Every difficult meeting is easier because you're prepared. Every crisis is less terrifying because I trust you to handle it. You're not just my assistant. You're my partner in running this company. And the thought of doing this without you... He trailed off, but she could see the pain in his expression. I sat there for 20 minutes, having a complete internal breakdown. He continued, realizing I was going to lose you, and I'd never even told you how I felt. Never even given you the option of knowing. And then you walked past my office in that navy dress, the same one you wore the first time you challenged me in a meeting, told me I was wrong in front of the board and were absolutely right. And something just broke. What broke? My control. My ability to keep pretending this is purely professional. My willingness to let you leave without knowing the truth. He stood again, unable to sit still. I know this is selfish. I know I'm potentially destroying our working relationship and putting you in an impossible position. But Amara, I couldn't let you walk out of my life without telling you that you matter. That you've mattered every single day for 2 years. That losing you will be the worst thing that's happened to me in a decade. Amara's throat was tight. That's a lot of pressure to put on someone. I know. I'm sorry. But it's the truth. He moved closer again, drawn to her like gravity. You want to know what that dress does to me? It makes me forget every rule I've made for myself. Every boundary I've carefully maintained. Every reason I've given myself for why this is impossible. I see you in that dress, and all I can think about is what it would feel like to finally tell you the truth. To see if maybe, possibly, you feel even a fraction of what I feel. And if I don't, then you take the lead job, advance your career, and I deal with the consequences of my confession. I'll give you a glowing reference. I'll never mention this again. We'll keep things professional for whatever notice period you give, and then you'll move on to bigger and better things. His voice dropped. And I'll spend the rest of my life wondering what might have been if I'd been brave enough to say something sooner. You're being manipulative. I'm being honest. There's a difference. He stopped a few feet away from her. Amara, I need you to understand something. I'm not asking you to risk your career for me. I'm not asking you to stay in a position you've outgrown. I'm not asking you to sacrifice your future for my feelings. If anything, I'm begging you to take that lead job, advance your career, become everything you're capable of becoming. Then what are you asking? I'm asking if maybe, after you leave, after the power dynamic is gone, after you're not my employee anymore, maybe you'd let me take you to dinner, as equals, as two people who might want to see if this connection is real. He stopped, searching for words, as someone who's been falling in love with you for 2 years and wants to see if you might fall too. The confession hung in the air between them. Love. He'd said love. You can't love me, Amara said, but her voice shook. You don't know me. Not really. We have a professional relationship. We've never spent time together outside of work. You don't know my family, my dreams, my fears, I know you take the subway to work, even though you could easily afford a car, because you use the 40-minute commute to read and think and prepare for the day. His voice was soft but certain. I know you volunteer at a women's shelter in Itaewon every Saturday from 9 to 1. I know your mother calls every Sunday at exactly 6 p.m. from Georgia, and you always take the call no matter what meeting you're in or how busy you are. I know you're terrified of failing, that you push yourself too hard, that you don't believe you're as capable as you actually are, even though you're the most competent person I've ever worked with. How do you know all that? Because I pay attention. Because everything about you matters to me. Because I can't help myself. He took another step closer. I know you bite your lip when you're concentrating on something difficult. I know you tap your pen exactly 3 times against your notepad when you're thinking through a problem. I know you drink your coffee black in the morning, but with cream after lunch. I know you reorganize the supply closet when you're stressed because you like the control of putting things in order. I know you hum under your breath when you think no one's listening, usually old R&B songs from the 90s. Amara stared at him, stunned. That's a lot of observation. That's 2 years of being completely gone on someone and trying desperately to hide it. He was close enough now to touch her, but he kept his hands carefully at his sides. So yes, Amara Jenkins, I love you. I'm in love with you. Have been since that interview when you called me out for having an all-male executive team and asked pointed questions about diversity initiatives. Have been through every meeting where you anticipated my needs before I voiced them. Every crisis where you stayed calm when everyone else panicked. Every small moment where you showed me who you are beneath the professional exterior. This is insane. Completely insane, he agreed. But it's true, and you deserve to know before you made a decision about your future. Amara's mind was spinning. 2 years. He'd been feeling this for 2 years, and she'd had no idea. Or had she? Those moments when she'd caught him watching her with an unreadable expression. The way he always seemed to know when she needed a break or was struggling with something. The small considerations. Her favorite coffee appearing on her desk during stressful days, his absolute fury when a client spoke dismissively to her. The way he protected her from the worst of his temper, even when he was snapping at everyone else. She thought it was just him being a good boss. But what if it wasn't? I need time, she finally said. I need time to think about this. About everything. About what I want versus what's smart versus what's safe. Take all the time you need. He moved back to his desk, putting distance between them again. The Lee offer is on the table. Make the decision that's right for your career, your life, your future. Don't factor me into it. Just decide what's best for you. How can I not factor you into it? You just confessed you're in love with me. That changes everything. It doesn't have to. You can take the job, advance your career, and never think about this conversation again. I'll respect whatever you decide. He sat down, suddenly looking exhausted. Go home, Amara. Take the rest of the day. Take tomorrow if you need it. Think without me watching you, waiting for an answer. I'll handle everything here. What about your meetings? The investor crisis? I'll manage. I've been managing things myself for years before you came along. His expression softened slightly. Go. Think. Decide. Whatever you choose, I promise I'll respect it. We'll find a way to move forward professionally. Amara stood there for another moment, torn between 100 different emotions. Then she turned, unlocked the door, and walked out without looking back. She didn't go home. Instead, she walked. Through Gangnam's gleaming streets, past luxury stores and corporate towers, trying to organize the chaos in her head. Her phone buzzed constantly, rescheduled meeting confirmations, angry investor messages, concerned questions from colleagues. She ignored all of it. Kang Yejun loved her. Her boss, the cold, controlled CEO who never showed emotion in meetings, loved her. And she, what did she feel? She'd been lying earlier when she said there was nothing between them. She'd felt it too. That pull, that awareness, that constant low-level attraction she'd been carefully suppressing for 2 years. Every time he smiled, those rare, genuine smiles that transformed his face, her heart did stupid things. Every time he stood close during meetings, leaning over her shoulder to look at her screen, she'd had to focus very hard on not noticing how good he smelled. Every time he praised her work, that warm feeling in her chest had nothing to do with professional pride. She'd been attracted to him from the beginning, had maybe been half in love with him for months. But she'd buried it because acting on it was impossible, unprofessional, dangerous. But now he'd confessed. Now the secret was out. Now she had to actually make a decision instead of just avoiding it. Her phone rang. Michelle, her best friend, her voice of reason, her emergency contact for exactly this kind of crisis. "Tell me you're not spiraling," Michelle said immediately when Amara answered. "I'm absolutely spiraling. How did you know?" "Because you just canceled a meeting with me that we've had scheduled for 3 weeks, which means something catastrophic happened. Talk to me." So Amara did. Standing in a coffee shop in Gangnam, she told Michelle everything. The confession, the feelings, the job offer, the impossible decision. "Holy shit," Michelle said when she finished. Wow, that's a lot." Understatement of the year. Okay, let's break this down logically. Michelle's lawyer brain was clearly engaged. Pros of staying. You're in love with him. Yes, you are. Don't even try to deny it. Cons. Power dynamic. Professional reputation. Potential disaster if it doesn't work out. Pros of leaving. Better job. Career advancement. Removes the power imbalance issue. Cons. You might regret not exploring this. You'd be leaving a job you actually like. Starting over somewhere new is stressful. That doesn't help. I still don't know what to do. What do you want? Not what's safe or logical or smart. What do you actually want? That was the question, wasn't it? What did she want? "I want him," Amara admitted quietly. "I want to see what we could be. I want to stop being professional and careful and just see if this is real, if it could work, if we could be something." Then that's your answer. But the lead job is objectively better for your career, so take it. Eliminate the power dynamic problem. Then, once you're not his employee anymore, see what happens. You get the better job and the guy. Win-win. Amara laughed despite everything. "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple. You're making it complicated because you're scared." "Of course I'm scared. What if I take the new job and we try this and it crashes and burns? What if I'm giving up professional relationships at Kang Enterprises for a relationship that doesn't work out? What if it does work out?" Michelle interrupted. "What if this is actually the real thing and you almost walked away because you were too scared to try? Look, Amara, you've spent your whole life playing it safe. Choosing the secure path. The guaranteed outcome. Where has that gotten you? I have a great job, financial stability, a good reputation. And you're 32. Single because you've been too focused on career to date seriously. Still an assistant when you should be running your own department. And terrified to take any risk that doesn't have a guaranteed positive outcome. Michelle's voice gentled. I love you. You're my best friend. But babe, you need to take a chance. On yourself, on him, on the possibility that something beautiful could come from being brave. After they hung up, Amara sat in the coffee shop for another hour, thinking. Michelle was right. She'd been playing it safe her entire life, taking the assistant job instead of risking a management position because it was steady, reliable, and comfortable, avoiding serious relationships because they were messy and complicated, always choosing the path with the least risk, but where had being safe gotten her? Still an assistant at 32, still single, still wondering, what if? Maybe it was time to take a risk. To choose the scary path, to bet on herself for once. By the time she left the coffee shop, Amara had made her decision. Amara walked into the office with her head high and her resolve firm. She'd spent the evening drafting a resignation letter, researching Lee Corporation, and calling her contact there to accept their offer pending contract negotiations. She found Ye-jun already in his office, looking like he hadn't slept. He looked up when she knocked, his expression carefully neutral. Good morning, he said formally. I wasn't expecting you today. I thought you might take more time. I made my decision. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. And? I'm accepting the Lee Corporation offer. I'll give you 2 weeks' notice as per my contract, but I'm willing to stay for 4 weeks if you need time to find and train a replacement. She kept her voice professional, businesslike. I've already drafted my resignation letter. I can send it to you and HR within the hour. Pain flashed across his face, quickly masked. I see. That's the right choice. For your career, congratulations. I'm not finished. She stepped into the office and closed the door behind her. I'm taking the lead job because it's objectively better for my career advancement, because I've been stagnating in this position for too long, because I need to challenge myself and grow and stop playing it safe. I understand. But also, she moved closer to his desk. I'm taking it because you were right. The power dynamic between us makes anything else impossible. I can't explore whatever this is while I'm your employee. It's not ethical. It's not fair to either of us. So I'm eliminating that problem. His eyes snapped to hers, hope dawning. Amara, let me finish. I'm taking the lead job. I'm advancing my career. I'm doing what's right. For my professional development. She took a deep breath. And then, after my 2 weeks are up, after I'm no longer your employee, after the power dynamic is completely eliminated, you're taking me to dinner, like you said, as equals. And we're going to see if this thing between us is real or just workplace proximity and suppressed attraction. The transformation in his expression was startling. You mean, I've been lying too. I've been suppressing what I feel because acting on it was impossible. But you're right. Working beside you every day while wanting you has been torture. And I don't want to wonder, what if, for the rest of my life. She moved even closer. So yes, I'm taking the risk. I'm being brave. I'm choosing the possibility of something beautiful over the safety of nothing. He was around the desk in seconds, pulling her into his arms. Not kissing her. Not yet. Not while she was still his employee, but holding her like she was precious. Like she was everything. You're sure? He asked, his voice rough with emotion. Terrified, but sure. She pulled back to look at him, 2 weeks, Yejun. Keep it professional for 2 weeks, then we do this right. 2 weeks. He released her reluctantly, stepping back to restore proper distance. I can wait 2 weeks. I've waited 2 years. I can manage 14 more days. Good. Because we're doing this properly. No shortcuts, no questionable ethics, no giving anyone ammunition to say I slept my way into anything. She pulled out her phone. Now I need to send that resignation letter and start training whoever you hire to replace me. Who do you want me to reach out to from the recruitment agency? He was smiling now, a real smile, bright and genuine and transformative. I'll handle the recruitment. You focus on transition documentation. Make sure whoever comes after you actually has a chance of being half as good. Impossible standard. I'm exceptional. You are. That's why losing you, professionally, is worth it to have you personally. Amara's last day at Kang Enterprises was bittersweet. She'd spent 2 years building relationships, mastering her role, becoming indispensable. Leaving felt like closing a significant chapter of her life. But opening a new one felt like freedom. Her colleagues threw her a small goodbye party in the conference room. There was cake, champagne, and speeches about how much she'd contributed. Yejun kept professionally distant. They'd agreed to maintain complete professionalism through her last day. But she caught him watching her with an expression that made her stomach flip with anticipation. At 5 p.m., she packed her personal items into a box. Her favorite coffee mug. The plant she'd kept alive for 2 years despite the office's terrible lighting. Photos of her family. Small mementos from successful projects. 2 years of her life fit into a single cardboard box. She said her final goodbyes to colleagues who'd become friends. Promised to stay in touch with her assistant network. Exchanged contact information and LinkedIn connections. At 5:47 p.m., she walked toward the elevator for the last time as an employee of Kang Enterprises. Yejun was waiting by the elevator doors. "Miss Jenkins?" he said formally, but his eyes were warm. "It's been an honor working with you. You've been an exceptional assistant, and I'm grateful for everything you've contributed to Kang Enterprises." "The honor was mine, Mr. Kang. Thank you for the opportunities and the professional growth." She held out her hand for a handshake. Proper, professional, absolutely appropriate. He took her hand, shook it formally. But his thumb stroked her palm in a gesture only she could feel, a promise of things to come. "I wish you all the best in your new position," he said. "Thank you. I'm excited for this next chapter." The elevator doors opened. She stepped inside, turned to face him one last time as an employee. "See you around," she said casually. "Count on it," he replied, and the heat in his eyes made her knees weak. The doors closed. The elevator descended. And just like that, Amara Jenkins was no longer Kang Yejun's assistant. Her phone buzzed before the elevator even reached the ground floor. "Yejun, dinner tonight, 7:30 p.m. I'm picking you up. Wear something nice." "Amara, that's very presumptuous. What if I have plans?" "Yejun, do you have plans?" "Amara, no, but you don't know that." "Yejun, I know you, and I know you've been counting down the hours until you could say yes to dinner without it being an HR nightmare. So, 7:30. Say yes." "Amara, fine, yes, but only because I'm hungry." "Yejun, whatever you need to tell yourself. I'll see you in 2 hours." Amara smiled at her phone, feeling lighter than she had in years. Free from the professional constraints. Free to explore what this could be. Free to take a risk on something that might be beautiful. Yejun picked her up at exactly 7:30, looking devastating in a dark suit that was definitely not what he'd been wearing at work. He'd gone home and changed, which meant he'd been thinking about this as much as she had. "You look beautiful," he said when she opened her apartment door. He was holding flowers, white roses and something purple she didn't recognize, but smelled amazing. "You brought flowers." "I'm courting you properly. Flowers are required." He offered them to her. "Also, I've been wanting to buy you flowers for approximately 2 years and never had an appropriate excuse. So I'm making up for lost time." She took the flowers, breathed in their scent. "They're perfect. Come in. Let me put these in water." He followed her into her apartment, small but clean, decorated with more personality than he'd probably expected from his always professional assistant. She had art on the walls, books overflowing from shelves, plants in various states of health. "This is very you," he said, looking around. "Organized chaos with bursts of color." "Is that a compliment?" "Absolutely. It's perfect." He watched her arrange the flowers in a vase. "Are you nervous?" "Terrified. You?" "Same." He smiled slightly. "We're doing this very backwards. Usually people date first, then work together if it comes up. We've worked together for 2 years and are now trying to figure out if we can date. Do you think we can?" "I think if we can work together successfully for 2 years despite wanting each other the entire time, we can probably handle dinner." He offered his arm. "Shall we find out?" The restaurant was in Gangnam, exclusive, elegant, the kind of place she'd never been. They were shown to a private room, given menus that didn't have prices, treated like visiting dignitaries. "This is too much," Amara said once they were alone. "This is me trying to impress you." "You don't need to impress me. I already said yes to dinner." "Yes, but now I need to impress you enough that you say yes to a second dinner. And a third. And eventually to being my girlfriend, officially." He poured wine for both of them. "I have a whole campaign planned. Flowers today, chocolate tomorrow, skywriting next week." "Please don't do skywriting." "Too late. Already hired the plane." She laughed despite her nerves. This was easier than she'd expected. The transition from boss assistant to whatever this was. Maybe because they'd spent 2 years learning each other, learning how to communicate, how to read each other, how to work together seamlessly. "Tell me something I don't know about you," she said. "Something you couldn't tell me when I worked for you." He considered. "I hate running my father's company." She blinked. "What?" "I hate it. The corporate politics, the endless meetings, the pressure, all of it. I wanted to be an architect. That's what I studied in university. I had plans, designs, dreams. And then my father died suddenly and I inherited Kang Enterprises at 25. Had to give up everything I wanted to save the company from bankruptcy and scandal. I had no idea. No one does. It's not something I can say publicly. But I wanted you to know. The real me, not the CEO everyone sees. The person who sacrificed his dreams because duty demanded it. That must have been incredibly difficult." "It was. It is. Every day I put on a suit and make decisions about things I don't care about and pretend it's fulfilling." He looked at her. "You made it bearable, these past 2 years. Working with you made the burden feel lighter. Made me look forward to going to work, even when I hated what I was doing. That's a lot of pressure to put on one assistant. You were never just an assistant. Not to me. You were a partner, a collaborator, the person who made everything possible." He reached across the table, took her hand. "Your turn. Tell me something I don't know." Amara thought about it. "I moved to Seoul running from a failed engagement 3 years ago. I was supposed to marry this guy, Marcus, very successful, very appropriate, very much what everyone expected. And 2 weeks before the wedding, I realized I didn't love him. That I'd said yes because it made sense, because he checked all the boxes, because I was supposed to want that life. But I didn't. So I called it off, quit my job, moved across the world to start over. That's incredibly brave. Or incredibly cowardly. I ran away instead of dealing with the fallout. You chose yourself over other people's expectations. That's not cowardice. That's strength. He squeezed her hand. Does he know where you are now? No. I cut all ties. Started completely fresh. Seoul was far enough away that no one from that life could easily follow. Any regrets? Not one. Breaking up with Marcus was the best decision I ever made. Even if everything else fell apart, at least I didn't trap myself in a marriage I didn't want. She smiled. Moving to Seoul gave me freedom. Gave me you eventually. Worth it. They talked through dinner, 4 courses, each more delicious than the last. They talked about everything. Childhoods, dreams, fears, embarrassing moments, favorite books and movies and music. All the personal details they'd carefully avoided during 2 years of working together. Amara learned that Yejun's favorite food was his mother's kimchi jjigae, that he'd wanted to design museums and community centers, that he played piano when stressed, that he spoke 3 languages fluently, that he'd broken his arm falling off a bicycle when he was 7 and still had a scar, that he read science fiction novels to escape reality. Yejun learned that Amara was afraid of thunderstorms because of a tornado that had destroyed her childhood home, that she'd paid for college with scholarships and multiple jobs, that she sang in the shower but nowhere else, that she wanted to travel to all 7 continents before she turned 40, that her mother was her hero and her greatest critic, that she stress-baked at 2 a.m. when she couldn't sleep. By the time dinner ended, it was past midnight. They'd talked for over 4 hours without running out of things to say. I should take you home, Yejun said reluctantly, even though I don't want this to end. It doesn't have to end. We could walk if you're not too tired. Never too tired for you. They walked through Gangnam's late-night streets, neon signs reflecting off wet pavement from an earlier rain. The city was still alive with people, but Amara felt like they were in their own bubble. Just the 2 of them, finally able to be honest, finally able to explore this thing between them. Can I confess something? Yejun said after a while. Always. I'm terrified this is too good to be true. That I'll wake up tomorrow and discover this was a dream. That I imagined you saying yes. You didn't imagine it. I'm really here. Are you happy? About this? About us trying? Cautiously happy, scared, hopeful, all of it simultaneously. She looked up at him. But yes, I'm happy. This feels right in a way nothing has in a long time. Even though it's messy and complicated and definitely not the safe choice. Especially because of that. Turns out I'm tired of safe. He stopped walking, turned to face her. Can I kiss you? I've been wanting to all night, but wasn't sure if it was too soon or too fast or... She kissed him, cutting off his rambling. His arms came around her immediately, pulling her close, and Amara felt like something clicked into place. Like this was exactly where she was supposed to be. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. Okay? He asked. More than okay. Perfect. Can I see you tomorrow? You're very eager for someone who waited 2 years. I'm making up for lost time. So yes, I'm eager. I want to see you tomorrow and the day after and every day if you'll let me. He kissed her forehead. Is that too much? It's a lot, but I like it. She smiled. Yes. Tomorrow. Lunch? I have orientation at Lee Corporation. In the morning, but I'm free afternoon. I'll pick you up at 12:30. We'll go somewhere quiet where I can kiss you without Seoul watching. Sounds perfect. He walked her to her apartment building, kissed her one more time at the entrance, soft and sweet and promising, then watched until she was safely inside. Amara floated up to her apartment, feeling like a teenager after a first date. Her phone buzzed before she even got her shoes off. Yejun, I miss you already. Amara, we just said goodbye 2 minutes ago. Yejun, 2 minutes too long. See you tomorrow? Amara, tomorrow. Now go home and sleep. Yejun, yes, ma'am. Sweet dreams. Amara fell asleep smiling, her mind full of possibilities. The transition had been even smoother than Amara expected. Lee Corporation's CFO was demanding but supportive. The work was challenging in the best way. She was using skills she'd forgotten she had, contributing to real strategic decisions, being taken seriously as more than just an assistant. And Yejun. Yejun was everything she hadn't known she needed. They'd kept the relationship relatively quiet at first. Neither company needed the gossip or speculation. But gradually, carefully, they'd gone more public. Dinner with his colleagues, meeting her friends, beginning to build a life together that felt substantial and real. Michelle had visited from the States, met Yejun, and given her approval with the cryptic comment, "He's good for you. Makes you brave instead of small." Now, 3 months into their relationship, things had settled into a comfortable rhythm. They spent most evenings together, sometimes at his place, sometimes at hers. They cooked together. She was terrible. He was patient. They talked about their days. They were building something that felt permanent. "Move in with me," Yejun said one evening. They were at his penthouse, cooking dinner together. Or rather, he was cooking while she sat on the counter, drinking wine and providing commentary. "That's very sudden." "Is it? We spend 5 nights a week together anyway. You have a drawer at my place. I have a toothbrush at yours. We're basically living together already." "It's been 3 months. I know. But I also know that I love waking up next to you. That the nights you're not here feel wrong. That I want to build a life with you, not just borrow pieces of time." He moved to stand in front of her, hands on her knees. "Move in. Officially. Bring your things. Make this our space instead of my space you visit." That's a big step. It is. But Amara, I've known you for over 2 years. These 3 months of dating feel like confirmation of what I already knew. You're it for me. You're the person I want to build a life with. So yes, I'm asking you to move in after 3 months of official dating, but 2 years of knowing you. Is that too fast? She looked at him. This man who'd waited so long to confess, who'd pushed her to advance her career, even though it meant losing her as an assistant, who'd proven every day that he loved her as an equal, not as someone to control. "Ask me again in 2 weeks," she said. "If you still want it then, if this still feels right, I'll say yes. 2 weeks. I can do 2 weeks." He kissed her. "But fair warning, I'll ask every day until you say yes. I'd expect nothing less." He was true to his word. Every day for 2 weeks, he asked. Sometimes seriously over dinner. Sometimes playfully in the morning. Sometimes via text during work hours. "Yejun, move in with me?" Day 3 of asking. Amara, still thinking. "Yejun, what would help you decide?" Amara, "Time, certainty. Proof this isn't just infatuation." "Yejun, it's been 2+ years. At what point does it stop being infatuation and start being love?" Amara, "When you still want me after seeing me at my worst." Yejun, I've seen you manage crisis after crisis without breaking. I've seen you exhausted and stressed and angry. Still want you, still love you, still asking you to move in. After 2 weeks, Amara said yes. They'd been living together for 9 months. Kang Ye-jun's penthouse had slowly transformed into their home. Amara's art on the walls. Her books are on the shelves, her plants everywhere. She'd taken over the balcony with a garden that Ye-jun pretended to complain about, but actually loved. Her clothes in the closet. Her coffee maker in the kitchen because his wasn't strong enough. It was home in a way nowhere had been since she'd left Georgia. For their 1-year anniversary of that first dinner, Ye-jun had planned a weekend trip to Jeju Island. "I want to take you somewhere beautiful," he'd said. "Somewhere we can just be us without the city watching." The resort was stunning. A luxury villa with private beach access, ocean views, and complete privacy. They spent the first day just relaxing, swimming, talking, and being together, without the pressure of work and schedules. On the second evening, they walked on the beach at sunset. The sky was painted orange and pink and gold, the ocean calm and glittering. "Amara," Ye-jun said quietly. "Turn around." She did, and found him on one knee on the sand, a ring box open in his hand. Her heart stopped. "Ye-jun, 1 year ago, you wore a navy dress that broke my control and changed both our lives. You took a risk on a relationship that could have been disastrous. You chose to be brave instead of safe. You gave me a chance to prove I was worth it." His voice was steady, but his hands shook slightly. "This year has been the happiest of my life. You've made me better, made me laugh, made me want to be worthy of you every single day. And I don't want this to be temporary. I want every year after this, every day, every moment. Ye-jun, marry me. Be my partner in everything. Build a life with me. Let me spend the rest of my life proving I'll choose you every day. Let me wake up next to you for the next 50 years. Let me be the person you build a life with." Tears streamed down her face. "That's a long speech. Have you been practicing?" "For 3 months. Was it good?" "It was perfect." She dropped to her knees in the sand, facing him. "Yes. God, yes. Yes, I'll marry you." The joy on his face was incandescent. He slipped the ring on her finger, simple, elegant, exactly her style. Then kissed her like he was sealing a promise. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you too. Even though you're dramatic and intense and you made me blow up my professional life over a dress. Best dress ever made. I should wear it more often." "Please don't. I'm barely functional when you wear it even now." They stayed on the beach as the sun set completely, holding each other, making plans, laughing about the absurdity of how they'd gotten here. "You know," Amara said eventually, "I'm really glad I wore that dress that day." "Me too. Though technically, I'm glad I completely lost my mind and confessed after 2 years of torture." "That too." She kissed him. "Thank you. For being brave, enough to tell me the truth. For pushing me to take the job even though you wanted me to stay. For being patient and supportive and perfect. I'm not perfect. Close enough for me." They watched the stars come out, planning their future. Talking about the wedding, small and intimate, she insisted. He agreed because he agreed to everything she wanted. Talking about their careers, both thriving. Talking about someday having kids, maybe 2, they both thought. Talking about growing old together. "Hey, Ye-jun," Amara said quietly. "Yeah?" "I have a request for the wedding." "Anything." "I want to wear that navy dress, the one that started all this, for the reception after I change out of the wedding dress." He laughed, the sound full of joy. "You want to torture me at our own wedding?" I want to celebrate the dress that changed our lives. The dress that made you brave enough to confess. The dress that started everything. Okay. But fair warning, if you wear that dress to our wedding reception, I might not be able to wait until the end of the night to get you alone. That's what I'm counting on. He kissed her as the stars wheeled overhead, as the ocean sang its eternal song, as their future stretched out bright and certain and full of promise. They stayed on the beach until the night turned cold, neither wanting to break the spell of the moment. When they finally walked back to their villa, hand in hand, Amara kept looking at the ring on her finger like it might disappear. "It's real," Yejun said, catching her staring at it again. "I'm not going to change my mind." "I know. It's just, a year ago I was your assistant. I was professional and careful and absolutely certain that nothing could ever happen between us. And now I'm engaged to you. It feels surreal." "Good surreal or bad surreal?" "The best surreal." She stopped walking, pulled him close. "Thank you for being patient with me, for understanding that I needed time to trust this, to trust us. I would have waited as long as you needed." He kissed her forehead. "Though I'm very glad I didn't have to wait another 2 years." Inside the villa, Yejun had apparently planned ahead. There was champagne chilling, rose petals scattered across the bed, candles lit everywhere. It was romantic and over the top and absolutely perfect. "You arranged all this?" Amara asked, amazed. "I might have bribed the resort staff while you were swimming this morning." He poured champagne for both of them. "I wanted tonight to be perfect. Wanted you to know how serious I am about this, about us, about forever. I never doubted it. Not after you literally blew up your entire schedule to confess your feelings." She accepted the champagne, clinked her glass against his. "To us. To terrible timing that became perfect timing. To navy dresses that change lives. To brave women who take risks on emotionally repressed CEOs with control issues." They drank, then spent the rest of the night celebrating their engagement in ways that required the privacy of their villa. When Amara finally fell asleep in Yejun's arms around 3 a.m., she felt more content than she'd ever been in her life. This was real. This was permanent. This was everything she'd been too afraid to hope for. "You're engaged?" Michelle's scream over FaceTime was so loud that Amara had to pull the phone away from her ear. "Oh my God, show me the ring. Show me the ring right now." Amara held up her hand, letting the diamond catch the light. Michelle made a noise that was somewhere between a squeal and a sob. "It's perfect. He did good. I'm so happy for you I could cry." Michelle wiped at her eyes. "Okay, tell me everything. How did he propose? Where? When? I want every detail." So Amara told her. The sunset beach, the prepared speech, the joy on Yejun's face when she said yes. Michelle listened, alternating between tears and laughter. "That's the most romantic thing I've ever heard," Michelle said when she finished. "Remember when you called me a year ago, completely spiraling because your boss confessed his feelings? I remember you telling me I was in love with him and in denial. I was right, as always." Michelle grinned. "So when's the wedding? And more importantly, am I the maid of honor or do I have to fight someone for it?" "You're the maid of honor, obviously. And we're thinking next spring. Small ceremony, maybe 50 people. Nothing huge. Spring is perfect. That gives us like 6 months to plan. Oh God, we have so much to do. Dress shopping, venue hunting, flowers, catering." "Michelle, breathe. We have time." "Time flies when you're planning a wedding. Trust me, My sister's wedding was a nightmare, and they had a year to plan. Michelle's expression turned more serious. But real talk, Kay? Are you happy? Really, truly happy? More than I've ever been. Michelle, he's everything. Supportive and loving, and he pushes me to be better while loving me exactly as I am. The job at Lee Corporation has been amazing for my career, and having Yejun cheer me on every step of the way makes it even better. We're partners. Real partners. That's what you deserve. That's what you've always deserved. Michelle smiled softly. I'm so proud of you. For taking the risk. For choosing brave over safe. For letting yourself be loved. After they hung up, Amara sat with those words. A year ago, she'd been terrified. Terrified of losing her job, of risking her heart, of choosing the uncertain path. But she'd done it anyway. And look where that bravery had led. The hardest part of their engagement, Amara was learning, was navigating family expectations. Her mother in Georgia was thrilled, already planning to fly over for the wedding. But Yejun's mother was complicated. She's very traditional, Yejun warned as they drove to his mother's house in Gangnam. She has expectations about who I should marry, what my wife should be like, how she should behave. And I don't meet those expectations. You exceed every expectation that matters. But she'll need time to see that. He squeezed her hand. Just be yourself. She'll come around. Amara wasn't so sure. She'd heard stories about Korean mothers-in-law, about their high standards and controlling nature. And she was about as far from the traditional Korean daughter-in-law as possible. American, black, career-focused, opinionated. Mrs. Kang's house was a traditional hanok in an exclusive neighborhood, beautiful and intimidating. The older woman who answered the door was elegant, polished, and assessed Amara with sharp eyes that missed nothing. So, Mrs. Kang said in English after the initial introductions, you are the woman my son wishes to marry. Yes, ma'am. It's an honor to meet you. Mrs. Kang led them to a sitting room and served tea with precise movements. Yejun tells me you are American, from Georgia. Yes, ma'am. I moved to Seoul 3 years ago. For work? For a fresh start. The work came after. And now you work for Lee Corporation as an assistant. The emphasis on assistant was subtle but clear. Actually, I was recently promoted to junior operations manager. I manage a team of 5 now, contributing to strategic planning and implementation. Mrs. Kang's eyebrows rose slightly. Promoted already? After less than a year? Amara is exceptional at everything she does, Yejun said, pride clear in his voice. Lee Corporation recognized that and moved her into management ahead of schedule. I see. Mrs. Kang sipped her tea, studying Amara. And you met my son when you worked for him? Yes, ma'am. I was his executive assistant for 2 years. 2 years where nothing happened, Yejun interjected. We maintained complete professionalism. Amara left my employment before we began dating. Everything was done properly. Properly? Mrs. Kang's tone suggested she wasn't entirely convinced. And you are prepared to be married to a man like my son? To handle the pressures of being a CEO's wife? The social obligations, the public scrutiny, the expectations. This was the test, Amara realized. The moment where she could either shrink to fit expectations or stand firm in who she was. Mrs. Kang, I can't promise I'll be a traditional Korean wife. I'm not Korean. I didn't grow up with those cultural expectations, and I won't pretend to be someone I'm not. She met the older woman's eyes directly. But I can promise that I love your son deeply, that I support his dreams while pursuing my own, that I'll be a partner to him, not a burden, that I'll face whatever challenges come with respect and determination, and that I'll do my best to honor your family while being true to myself. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Yejun's hand found hers under the table, squeezing support. Then Mrs. Kang smiled, small but genuine. Good. If you had tried to pretend to be someone you're not, I would have known you were lying. My son needs someone strong enough to stand beside him, not behind him. Someone who will challenge him and support him in equal measure. Wait, really? Amara couldn't hide her surprise. Did you think I wanted a doormat for a daughter-in-law? Mrs. Kang's smile widened. I raised Yejun to be strong, intelligent, independent. He needs an equal, not a subordinate. From what he's told me, from what I've observed today, you are that equal. The tension Amara had been holding released all at once. Thank you. That means more than you know. However, Mrs. Kang continued, her tone turning more serious, I do have expectations. You will learn about our family traditions. You will participate in ancestral rites. You will make an effort to understand Korean culture even as you maintain your own identity. Can you do this? Yes, ma'am. I've already been studying Korean more seriously, learning about traditions. Yejun's been teaching me. Good. And children? Do you want children? We've discussed it. Yes, we both want children eventually. 2, we're thinking. 2 is good. Not too many, not too few. Mrs. Kang nodded approvingly. And you will teach them about both cultures? Korean and American? Absolutely. We want them to be proud of both heritages. The rest of the visit went smoothly. By the time they left, Mrs. Kang had extracted promises to visit regularly, to call every Sunday, and to have dinner together at least twice a month. She'd also, surprisingly, hugged Amara at the door. Welcome to the family, she'd said quietly. Take care of my son. He pretends to be strong, but he's softer than he looks. In the car, Yejun was grinning. That went better than I expected. Your mother's terrifying, and I like her. She liked you too, I could tell. She only hugs people she approves of. She gave me so many instructions about family traditions. I'll help you learn. We'll do it together. He brought her hand to his lips. Thank you for being yourself, for not trying to be someone you're not. That's what she needed to see. I was so nervous I thought I might throw up. You hid it well. You were perfect. Wedding planning, Amara discovered, was significantly more complicated than she'd anticipated, especially when trying to blend 2 cultures, satisfy 2 families, and maintain their own vision for the day. My mother wants a traditional Korean ceremony, Yejun said one evening, surrounded by wedding magazines and venue brochures. Full handbuk, bowing ceremony, the works. And my mother wants a church ceremony with a white dress and walking down the aisle. Amara rubbed her temples. How do we do both without this turning into a 12-hour marathon? We compromise. Short traditional ceremony for family, then a Western-style reception for everyone else. Your mother will be offended if the traditional ceremony is too short. My mother will be offended regardless. She wanted me to marry a nice Korean girl from a good family. Instead, I'm marrying a brilliant American woman who challenges me daily and makes me happier than I've ever been. She'll adjust. They eventually settled on a compromise. A small, intimate traditional Korean ceremony in the morning with immediate family, followed by a larger Western-style ceremony and reception in the evening. 2 dresses for Amara, a traditional hanbok for the morning, a white wedding dress for the evening. 2 ceremonies, 2 cultures, 1 marriage. And the navy dress? Yejun asked with a smile. For the after party, when it's just us and close friends. She kissed him. I'm saving the best for last. The venue selection was another challenge. They looked at dozens of locations, hotels, gardens, traditional venues, modern spaces. Nothing felt quite right until they found a renovated hanok with a modern glass pavilion attached. Traditional and contemporary, Korean and international, perfectly them. This is it, Amara said the moment she saw it. This is where we're getting married. The owner was an older woman who'd converted her family home into an event space. When she learned their story, the 2-year wait, the job change, the cultural blending, she offered them a significant discount. Love that waits is love that lasts, she said. And love that honors both traditions is love that thrives. You will be happy here. Finding a wedding dress that felt right took longer than Amara expected. She tried on dozens. Too traditional, too modern, too simple, too elaborate. Nothing felt like her. Maybe I'm being too picky, she said after the 5th unsuccessful shopping trip with Michelle, who'd flown in for a week to help. You're not being picky enough. This is your wedding dress. It needs to be perfect. Michelle scrolled through her phone. What about this designer? She does custom work, specializes in modern designs with traditional influences. The designer's studio was in Itaewon, small and intimate. The designer herself, Kim Sora, was a woman in her 60s who'd been making wedding dresses for 40 years. Tell me about your story, she said after the introductions. Not just how you met, but who you are, what you love, what you dream about. So Amara told her about moving to Seoul alone, about building a career from nothing, about falling in love with her boss despite every reason not to, about the navy dress that had started everything, about wanting to honor both her American roots and her new Korean family. Kim Sora listened, sketching while Amara talked. When she finished, the designer showed her the sketch. It was perfect. A modern silhouette with clean lines and subtle Korean influences in the detailing. Elegant without being fussy. Sophisticated without being cold. Exactly what Amara had been imagining without knowing how to articulate. This, Amara breathed. This is it. I thought so. Kim Sora smiled. You need a dress that's confident like you? Strong but feminine, modern but respectful of tradition. This dress is you. The fittings took months. Kim Sora was meticulous, adjusting every seam until it was perfect. And when Amara finally saw the completed dress, she cried. Yejun is going to die when he sees you in this, Michelle said, wiping her own tears. That's the plan. What if I'm making a mistake? Amara said one night, lying in bed beside Yejun. He turned to look at her, alarmed. What? Not about you. About us. Just, what if I'm not good enough at this? At being a wife? At balancing career and marriage? At handling all the expectations? The fears she'd been suppressing for months came flooding out. Your mother is trying. But I see how she looks at me sometimes. Like she's wondering if I'm really the right choice. And the board members at your company. I hear the whispers. The American assistant he fell for. Like I'm some kind of cliché. And what if they're right? What if I'm just... Stop. Yejun pulled her close, his voice firm. You are not a cliché. You are not a mistake. You are the best thing that's ever happened to me. And anyone who doesn't see that is an idiot. But what if? There's no what if. There's just us, you and me, choosing each other every day. He tilted her face up to look at him. Amara, You are brilliant and strong and capable of anything. You've built a career in a foreign country. You learned a new language. You took a risk on a relationship that could have been disastrous and turned it into something beautiful. You can absolutely handle being married to me. And anyone who doubts you will learn very quickly how wrong they are. You're very confident. I'm confident in you, in us, in what we're building together. He kissed her softly. Cold feet are normal, but don't confuse normal nervousness with actual doubt. Do you love me? More than anything. Do you want to marry me? Yes. Do you want to build a life together? Yes. Then everything else is just noise. We'll figure it out together. That's what marriage is, figuring it out together even when it's hard. Amara felt the tension ease. How did you get so wise? 2 years of loving you from a distance taught me patience and clarity. I know what I want. I want you for the rest of my life. Everything else is negotiable. The morning of the wedding was chaos. Amara's mother was crying. Michelle was running around fixing last-minute details. The makeup artist was running late. Amara's hanbok was even more elaborate than she'd expected. Layers of silk in deep burgundy and gold. Traditional hair ornaments that took an hour to secure properly. You look like a princess, her mother said, tears streaming down her face. My baby girl, all grown up and getting married. Mom, don't make me cry. It took 2 hours to do this makeup. The traditional ceremony was held in the main room of the Hanok venue. Yejun was already there, wearing a matching hanbok in deep blue and gold. When Amara entered, his expression made all the stress worth it. The ceremony itself was beautiful, bowing to ancestors, the symbolic exchanging of cups, the blessing from Yejun's mother. Amara followed the choreography she'd practiced, grateful for the lessons Yejun's mother had given her over the past months. When it was over, when they'd completed all the traditional rituals, Yejun leaned close and whispered, "One ceremony down. Are you ready for round 2? Give me an hour to change, and I'll be ready." The Western ceremony was in the glass pavilion at sunset. Chairs were arranged in a semicircle, white flowers everywhere, the Seoul skyline visible through the glass walls. It was intimate but stunning, exactly what they'd envisioned. Amara's wedding dress was even more beautiful in the golden sunset light. Kim Sora had outdone herself. The dress fit like it had been painted on, modern and elegant and absolutely perfect. She walked down the aisle on her mother's arm. Her father had abandoned them, so her mother had the honor. And when she saw Yejun waiting at the altar, the expression on his face made her breath catch. He looked like he was seeing heaven. The ceremony was short and sweet. They'd written their own vows, kept them simple and honest. "Amara," Yejun said when it was his turn, "you taught me that love is worth the risk. That vulnerability is strength, not weakness. That the best things in life come from being brave enough to reach for them. I promise to be your partner in everything. To support your dreams while pursuing mine. To love you fiercely and gently in equal measure. To choose you every day for the rest of our lives." "Yejun?" Amara said, her voice steady despite the tears. "You taught me that safety isn't the same as happiness. That taking risks can lead to the most beautiful outcomes. That love can be both passionate and stable, exciting and secure. I promise to be your equal partner, to challenge you when you need it and support you always. To build a life with you that honors both our dreams. To choose you every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." When the officiant pronounced them married, when Yejun kissed her with such tenderness that everyone in the pavilion sighed, Amara felt complete in a way she'd never experienced. This was it. This was forever. This was everything. The reception was a blur of toasts and dancing and food and laughter. Amara's feet hurt from her heels. Her face hurt from smiling. But she was deliriously happy. Around 9 p.m., she snuck away to change, out of the white wedding dress and into the navy dress, the one that had started everything, the one Yejun had said she shouldn't have worn. When she returned to the reception, the music was slower, the crowd smaller. Just close friends and family remained. Yejun was talking with his mother and didn't see her approach. But when he turned and saw her in that dress, his expression was everything she'd hoped for. Heat, desire, love, recognition. "You wore it," he said, his voice rough. "I promised I would. This dress changed our lives. It deserves to be at our wedding." He pulled her onto the dance floor, held her close as they swayed to the music. "Do you remember what I said? That morning when you wore this dress? You said I shouldn't have worn it. I was wrong. You should have worn it. Should have worn it every day. Because it led to this. To us. To forever. Are you saying you're glad I ignored your warning? I'm saying that was the best, worst decision of my life. Confessing my feelings could have been disastrous. Instead, it gave me everything." He kissed her softly. "Thank you. For taking the risk. For saying yes. For choosing brave over safe. Thank you for making me brave. For loving me enough to let me go. For being patient while I figured things out." They danced as the night grew late, as guests gradually left, as the venue emptied. Eventually, it was just them and a handful of friends still celebrating. "Ready to go?" Yejun asked around midnight. "We have a plane to catch. Tomorrow." They were honeymooning in Greece. 2 weeks of islands and beaches, and no work, no stress, just them. "More than ready?" She kissed him. "Take me home, husband." "Anything for you, wife." Greece was everything they'd hoped. Blue water, white buildings, endless sunshine. They spent days exploring ancient ruins and swimming in the sea. Nights eating fresh seafood and drinking wine and making love as newlyweds. "I could stay here forever," Amara said one evening, watching the sunset from their hotel balcony. "We'd eventually get bored. Miss work, miss Seoul." Yejun pulled her onto his lap. "But I understand the impulse. This has been perfect. It really has. No stress, no schedules, just us. We should do this every year. Take 2 weeks somewhere, just the two of us. Keep this feeling alive, even when life gets complicated." "I'd like that. Though next year, maybe somewhere with less sun. I'm burning despite the sunscreen." He laughed, kissing her shoulder where the skin was, indeed, slightly pink. "Next year we'll go somewhere cooler. Norway, maybe. See the northern lights." "That sounds perfect." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun sink into the Aegean. 2 years ago, Amara had been a careful assistant maintaining perfect professional boundaries. Now she was a wife, a partner, building a life with the man she loved. "Can I tell you something?" Yejun said quietly. "Always." "I was terrified that morning, when I decided to confess. Terrified you'd reject me, or report me to HR, or just leave without ever speaking to me again. I had this whole speech planned. But the moment you turned around in that dress, everything I'd rehearsed disappeared." "What were you going to say?" "Something much more eloquent than what actually came out. Probably would have included a PowerPoint presentation about why we should date, complete with charts showing compatibility metrics." Amara laughed. "Please tell me you're joking." "Only partially. I had bullet points." He smiled. But seeing you in that dress broke my brain completely. All I could think was, tell her now before you lose your nerve. So I did. Best lack of eloquence ever. Agreed. He pulled her closer. I don't regret it, any of it. Not the confession, not the drama, not the complications. All of it led here. To you being my wife. To us building something real and permanent and beautiful. I don't regret it either. Even the scary parts, even the uncertainty. She twisted her wedding rings. Both of them, the simple band and the engagement ring. This was worth the risk. You were worth the risk. They stayed on the balcony until the stars came out, making plans for their future. Talking about where they'd live. They'd keep the penthouse, but maybe buy a weekend house outside Seoul. Talking about careers. Amara was being considered for a director position at Lee Corporation. Yejun was finally making progress on legitimizing more of the company. Talking about someday, maybe in a year or two, starting a family. I want our kids to be brave, Amara said. Like you were. Brave enough to go after what they want, even when it's scary. They will be. They'll have you as a mother. Bravery is inherited. From both parents. You were brave too, confessing when you could have just stayed silent forever. Desperate is more accurate than brave. But I'll take the compliment. They were at a charity gala, one of the many events Amara now attended as the wife of a CEO. She wore a new dress, sleek and black, appropriate for the formal occasion. But at home, hanging in their closet, was the navy dress, cleaned, preserved, a talisman of how far they'd come. Do you ever think about that morning? Amara asked during a quiet moment on the gala's terrace. The morning you confessed? All the time. It was simultaneously the stupidest and smartest thing I've ever done. What would you have done if I'd said no? If I'd rejected you completely? Respected your decision? Let you leave. Spent the rest of my life wondering what might have been. He pulled her close. But also, I don't think you could have said no completely. I saw your face that morning. You felt it too. You were just scared. I was terrified. Of losing my job, my reputation, everything I'd built. Of taking a risk that could blow up spectacularly. And instead, I got everything. A better job, a husband I love, a life that's scary and beautiful and exactly what I need. She kissed him softly. Thank you. For being brave when I was too scared. For pushing me to take the risk. Thank you for saying yes. For trusting me. For choosing us. They stood on the terrace, overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline, and Amara thought about how much had changed in 2 years. How one confession, one moment of lost control, one navy dress had transformed everything. Hey, Yejun? I'm glad I wore that dress. He smiled, the expression full of love and heat and promise. Me, too. Best, worst decision that led to the best everything. That doesn't make grammatical sense. I don't care. It's true. And it was. Sometimes the best things in life came from moments of lost control. From confessions that shouldn't be made. From taking risks that logic said to avoid. Sometimes you just had to wear the dress and see what happened. For Amara and Yejun, wearing the dress had led to everything. If you loved Amara and Yejun's journey from boss and assistant to husband and wife, smash that like button. Drop a comment telling me your favorite part. Don't forget to subscribe to AfroKorean World TV for more stories about Black women and Korean men finding unexpected love. We're a family here, and every subscriber means the world. Thank you for reading, besties. See you in the next story.